But speaking of, not wanting to go out and deal with gas stations and stuff, Tesla does have a new feature that might be helping with one thing that we all hate, and that's looking for parking. So if you guys saw this, this is called reverse summon. So if you're unfamiliar, summon is where with your phone you can tell your car to come to you. Literally, it says "come to me." And now we have smart summon where it will, if it's parked in a parking lot, it will pull out of that spot and come to wherever you're at. Unless your name is Joe Scott, it'll just run straight into a curb.
Still has done nothing but hit curbs for me, but I haven't tested it lately.
So we'll say varying success.
I do have to say, my friend Trevor Mallman, fellow rocket photographer, last time I was down in Florida, he summoned his Model 3, which has hardware 3, from he was still within the radius. He had to be within the radius. But it had to do some pretty nutty stuff around bushes and all these different, and it nailed it. It knocked it out of the park, and and it was raining, and I was like, no way. I mean, it kind of shocked me, honestly. I didn't expect it to be that good. I think hardware 3 summon is way better than hardware 2.5.
Well, and also the data that they have now, right? Because when I think when all of us were testing that, it was literally the first week or two.
It's just very preliminary.
So it hadn't really learned much. It still was a toddler just running into crap, hitting its head on things.
Do they have a video of this or anything, or is that just a picture?
No, not yet. There's a photo here that we're showing. If you guys aren't familiar, you want to check it out. Also, tons of videos on it. Some really funny ones and all that. But it comes from Elon on Twitter saying that they're really working hard on getting traffic lights and stops released. So there was a recent video showing Tesla stopping at a stoplight automatically on street traffic, not on a freeway. And that was really interesting. And so that's what apparently they're working on, but also reverse summon, what they're calling it. Also, you could think of it. See, I don't like the name auto park because to me that just sounds like the auto parallel park thing.
Last, bit,
but the idea is you would, let's say, get to a restaurant, hit a button, and your car would go park itself. It would go find a spot, pull in, do its whole thing, and then when you come back, you could just do the normal what we know now, where you hit a button and it comes to you.
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't have a video of it yet. It's really interesting. I love now. If it only works in a parking lot, that's not as useful for me personally.
Right. Especially where downtown streets and stuff.
Yeah, I need this to work on public roads. I need, because I think when you guys were here for the 1 year anniversary live show we did, we stayed in Little Italy, or you guys stayed in Little Italy, and that's a great area in San Diego for food, probably the best, most concentrated area of restaurants and stuff. But parking is an absolute nightmare. There just is not parking there. Just don't even try it. So typically you Uber or whatever there. But imagine if I could just drive my own car there, get out at the restaurant, hit a button, and it just goes on city streets. Drive around all day. I don't care. Go back to my house.
You didn't even have to find a spot. I can just drive around till you're ready for it.
Exactly. Yeah. Do whatever. So to me, that will still be the ultimate version of this. But if now it could do it in a parking lot, let's say it's raining, I could see some use cases. I'm still super skeptical and would be very hesitant trying it. But we're getting there, right? These are the baby steps we have to take.
Right.
I've always wondered, what's it going to do to traffic when, say, no one's driving anymore and people are all just constantly summoning cars? Because say everyone summons a car, it means that car, in order to get someone, will have to drive empty to go get somebody every time, as opposed to you parking. So parking would go down because cars won't be parked as often. Right. But wouldn't traffic theoretically go up by almost that same amount? Because now you have cars driving from point A to point B to go pick somebody else up with no one in it, at some point.
I think you could do it kind of how taxis and stuff work at airports, or at least how they work out here. There's a taxi lot with thousands of taxis just waiting. And then as people come in, there's a guy over there that, calls over and says, hey, come on, I need 10 cars. And people start coming over. I wonder if you could do something like that where essentially you're, you have pickup and drop off points. But then let's say outside of that, it's just pedestrian traffic only. And so, hey, it's time to go. Let me hit a button. Cool. It'll be there when you get there. 5 minutes from now, you walk over, you hop in, and it just drove from wherever, from the lot. I don't know. Or they're just constantly driving around, and then you just hit a button and literally the next one just pulls over to you.
But that's the problem. If it's constantly driving around, now you just have like added vehicles on the road that are just driving around to like not park. Or say it drops the passenger off downtown, unless it literally picks someone else up in that exact same spot, there's going to be a distance that it has to travel to get to the next passenger where it's congesting the road. It's definitely an added a bit of traffic, but
well, this is kind of like what the data when you look at ride sharing. It's really interesting. Ride sharing data or ride sharing, as a service was like hailed originally or thought to be this thing that would reduce traffic, but what you find is that it hasn't really reduced traffic at all, and in a lot of areas it's increased it.
I was gonna say it should increase it because you again have someone getting dropped off and then an empty or a car with just a person driving it going to pick someone else up that wouldn't be on that route normally,
They've gotten smarter about that out here.
But still,
anyways,
if you drove yourself, you'll park and their car will be off the road until you go home, as opposed to like driving to the other person's house to pick them up. It's that little bit that is just completely additive,
Right. But what I'm saying is, at least the experience I've had recently was, I was taking, I forget where I was coming from, but I was taking a Lyft home, and as I was getting close to my house, it popped up on his app, your next stop is, half a mile away.
Yeah.
So it smartly routed people.
For sure.
Yeah.
It does that,
so
but there's always going to be the drop off point to the next pickoff point that is literally just added traffic.
Yeah. Well, the data I saw on ride sharing and why it was increasing was because people that would have, like, essentially, if I was going to the airport, for example, now I'll take a Lyft so I don't have to park my car there, but that doesn't reduce traffic at all. Right. And I'm still taking a Lyft by myself. So it's just changing who's driving, essentially. And so I think the data was in New York. And what they were seeing was people in kind of residential suburbs outside of the city taking those in instead of subways because they were nicer and whatever. And so it was like increasing traffic where normally that person would have hopped on a subway or, several subways or whatever you have to do to get there. Now it was just more convenient. And if it's cheap, then who cares? That would be nicer. I would rather obviously sit in the back of my own private car than on a subway with a bunch of other people and other, stuff happening. So it was a really interesting thing where it was kind of like killing public transportation. It wasn't like, hey, normally I drive a car, now I'll do this. It was like, no, normally I did that. That thing sucks. Let me do this instead for slightly more money.
Huh.
What's funny is the only time I take Uber outside of if I'm in a city where I don't have a car or anything is exactly what you said earlier. It's for parking reasons. If I'm going to a part of town that just has no parking and it's just like, you know what, I don't even want to deal with it. I'll just take an Uber or to go to the airport or something like that. But it's more for parking reasons than for getting around reasons.
Right. You didn't like sell your cars and be like, I'm out. Like now I'm just going to do this.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Hey, thanks for checking us out, guys. I hope you enjoyed this clip from our podcast.
We do a weekly show here on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe to Our Ludicrous Future, where we discuss all the things that are going to make our future totally ludicrous.
You can join us here on YouTube or at any of your favorite podcast places. Plus, if you want to get some behind-the-scenes stuff and join a cool community, you can help support the channel at patreon.com. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.